Hello, Internet.
Wait. I thought we said we were going to do hi, Internet.
Why would I say hi? I always say hello.
I know, but this isn't the show. This is a commercial for the show. I thought we said we were going to do it different.
I always say hello, Rod.
All right, fine. Say it whatever way you want to, Chris. It doesn't matter what I say anyway.
Hello, Internet.
You did, fine. You got your hello in. And now I'm Rod Morgan. You can listen to us on Balls and Brew, where we'll argue about many things, even more inane than what you just heard us argue about there. I promise. Right here on the Morganino Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Yeah We Know Podcast, part of the Morganino's Podcast Network. You're in the ring with Jimmy and Rod. Rod, what are you hot about today?
Well, I must say that I am not hot about anything per se, but I will say I'm not hot and my juices aren't titillated by one Maximum Male Models, which has been given an awful lot of screen time recently, and we will get there. But yeah, no, I'm not hot, but the Maximum Male Models promised me that I would just feel it down in my deepest, darkest parts of my soul, and I certainly do not. So that's where I guess I want to start with Maximum Male Models, Jim. You didn't see that coming, did you?
So, no, I did not. Titillation, I thought you were going somewhere else, but we'll talk about that too. So Max Dupree, formerly known as LA Knight, was a terrific talker in NXT, and he was almost champion at one point as well as a wrestler. But, he's smaller, and Vince McMahon only sees one thing in small guys, non-wrestling personas. So he's going to be a manager, which is okay. But then you have the Maximum Male Models, and you got to give it to them. They're living the gimmick right now, but dude, I don't see this going anywhere.
Yeah, Jimmy, because here's the thing, right? I kind of thought that it was interesting at first when this guy showed up because it was clear that he was comfortable doing and saying almost anything, right? The close face talking that he was pulling off, all that stuff. I was like, okay, this guy's a personality. This guy's got charisma. Fine. He wants to draft people to Maximum Male Models. Okay, I thought that could even be interesting. But then you bring me out Mace, who is now Massey, and then you bring me out Mansoor, who is now Mansoir, and I'm just like, okay, you sort of had me willing to come with you on the gimmick. You need to create stables. You need to create villains. This is certainly going to be something that people aren't going to like, but it's not working out the way they wanted it to because you just cannot have it be Mansoor and Mace. It just can't be, Jimmy. That's the biggest problem, is it not?
Mansoir and Massey, I believe, or whatever the heck it is. No, it can't be. I like that they're repackaging, especially Mace, because that was a train wreck from the beginning. Now we got to get T-Bar. We need to get T-Bar some help in there somewhere. But it's just a gimmick right now that you kind of see where it's going. It's going to be that tag team that loses all the time, and you're wasting a really good LA Knight, Max Dupree. You're really wasting him where he could have been a mouthpiece for a main eventer who needs someone who's a main eventer, Rod. Maybe who's a female main eventer who, when she gets in the ring and she talks, drones on and on and on, and people really hate her. Who could that be?
Could that be one former SmackDown Women's Champion who just lost her belt to Liv Morgan, Jimmy? Could that be who you're hinting at here?
It might be. I was, as you were talking about that, I'm like, yeah, wouldn't he be someone who's great for Ronda Rousey, who can go and get the shtick in there, be that swarmy little guy who tries to help her out, and that might be something good,
You hit the word right there, swarmy, right? Isn't that kind of that works best for wrestling manager, does it not, Jim? I mean, just tried and true throughout wrestling history, the guy that can pull that off the best usually works as wrestling manager, does it not?
Correct. Jimmy Hart. Perfect
Bingo.
Example.
Bingo.
Little guy running around. If someone gets their hand on him, they get killed. Now, obviously, Max Dupree's a little bit bigger than Jimmy Hart, but he's got that feel to him, and I think it could really go somewhere. I've seen this type of thing happen before.
Okay, let's go here.
And
Who's going to push exactly? Who's going to be somebody who comes out and pushes back against these guys and is the first person to run out from the back and blast one of them when they're trying to spin around, right? Like that's what we're headed to, is it not? So then I guess it's going to matter who they're messing with, because it's clearly going to be another mid-carder, but what mid-carder can they not figure something out to do that now they're going to mash with Maximum Male Models? Is this Los Lotharios? Is that what we're headed towards here, Jim?
This would have been a perfect Apollo Cruz type feud, but he's in NXT right now. This could be an almost situation where he comes in and wrestles on SmackDown more, but he's just gonna kill him. The Viking Raiders are going to destroy this team. What's
the Viking Raiders' official name right now, Jim? You go to WWE.com and you talk about the roster. Is the new Vicious Viking Raiders their actual name right now? Because that's what's said every time.
It's also Seth Frickin' or Freakin', depending on who calls it Rollins, too. So I don't know.
Stop it. How dare you? You know you're not even allowed to say it. How dare you just sneak one in right there on top of me like that?
Oh, goodness. The Viking Experience, Viking Raiders of War, the War Machine. I don't know what they are.
But it speaks to the tag team landscape being a barren wasteland, and then you and I ready for maximum male models, and it's just not there. And the crowd in Fort Worth was certainly not having it, Jimmy. That was a boisterous crowd we had on Friday night.
You cannot say that the past couple crowds have not been lively, if you will. Money in the Bank was obviously more geared towards being fans, but this Fort Worth crowd really hated everything. Man. And as well they should have. On a few of these things, as well, they should have, and let's go right to that as well. So the bad show part, you and I always talk about how I say they don't really have plans and expect the unexpected. Well, I, and Chris, who joins us sometimes, run a text thread, and we were actually talking about the ending to SummerSlam, and we'll get that to when we get to SummerSlam. But tonight is Welcome to WWE booking. Offer a singles match that is for a pay-per-view main event that is 2 pay-per-views away.
Right.
It's in September, I believe. It's July now.
Yeah.
And then, number 1, don't have the match. And number 2, make fun of COVID. Or pretend you have COVID and actually cough in the ring. That just fell so flat on everybody. Saving Grace's Butch is amazing, and Pete Dunne is fantastic in his role, but it was dumb because you didn't offer anything. Now we still don't have a main event for 2 months from now.
Here's the other thing. You know me. I'm willing to try to give them the benefit of the doubt a little more often because, frankly, I just haven't seen as many of these matches as you have. My period of being away from WWE just still keeps me ready for I'm here, right? I'm the mark. Give it to me. But why would Sheamus not want to fight that match then and there? You didn't give me any kind of a reason as to why Sheamus didn't want to just step in the ring with Drew McIntyre and beat him right then and there and get a shot at Clash at the Castle, which the first problem I have is exactly what you stated at the beginning of that, is don't make this be a stipulation about a pay-per-view that we haven't even booked all of SummerSlam yet. And then the next one, you're like, you guys, I want you to worry about this thing that's happening. Don't worry about SummerSlam, which we haven't even had yet, and people haven't even fully, bought all the tickets and all of the above. We haven't even fully booked it out, but you guys worry about Clash at the Castle. That makes no sense. And then why in the world would Sheamus make fun of Rona, which I get you're in Texas, but it still didn't work very well. And then it didn't make any sense to me at all. None whatsoever, but I do love me some Butch. The whole, just let me fight anybody at any time.
And Sheamus loves to fight. So here's an opportunity to fight for a world championship opportunity that you haven't had in a very long time, but you're just going to not fight.
Yeah, maybe he was worried. Think of it that way.
Maybe he was worried that Drew McIntyre is so strong that cutting a rope with his, steel sword bends the sword.
Corey Graves care about that so much, Jimmy, that I almost forgot it happened until you just reminded me of it right here. That's how little I cared about that.
Corey Graves did a pretty good job of trying to. He's so strong. He broke the. You know how strong you have to be to bend steel. Well, obviously, it wasn't steel. So, that didn't do too well. But I will tell you, Rod, WWE Creative will continue to go on this course because Vince McMahon is still 100% in charge of creative, even though shockingly, more allegations have come out that he spent $12 million giving hush money payments to a former wrestler who apparently, and obviously this is all alleged, had a relationship with and then didn't, and then that person got fired. Any surprises here for you?
I don't think so. I think that we sort of alluded to this being a definite possibility when we had our initial conversation about Vince the day that it was breaking news all across the sports world and the regular news world, that we said this is not surprising out of a man who frankly, you have to be a type of person to rise to the level of prominence and fame and dominance in the professional wrestling business, right? So that just sort of speaks to Vince McMahon there. And then we had evidence already. I guess people alluded to the fact that there were probably multiple when this first one came out. So I'm, again, not surprised by it, and I will state this. I'm not defending Vince McMahon at all here, but this situation will completely come down to how much heat comes upon Vince McMahon, and I still wonder if wrestling is just enough outside of the mainstream that heat won't rise to the level of boiling.
That's interesting. You would think it is more in the mainstream, especially being on Fox and having corporate partners and shareholders and a board to talk with, but it seems that he's just going to go with his continued, F him, if you will, and go with that to see what happens in the future. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Here's also I would say, Jim, is I love that we started this with what are we doing right now? Where are we headed still? That's always the thing we have, right? And if that starts to become really hard for Vince to pin down, and that's not going to be related to all of his outside stuff. It's just not. But if that starts becoming hard for Vince to pin down, and Peacock can look at lower numbers for its premium live events and for people signing up to get the WWE network, and if Fox and the USA network can look at lower ratings, they might then take advantage of this other thing that they probably would not care about if Vince was still the golden goose laying the golden eggs. But if you're not the golden goose laying the golden eggs anymore, people look for any ammunition to try to take you down. And I wonder if this thing will just become a perfect storm, to quote a great George Clooney, Mark Wahlberg movie, Jimmy.
Well, nice. And we also have the rights coming up here in the next couple of years, which is going to be huge. I mean, you saw that, I think Formula One got like 18 times what they got last time because it's so popular now. NHL is everywhere now, which it was nowhere forever, which is great for the sport. It's just kind of interesting how that turned on a dime where you heard nothing about the NHL for years, and then all of a sudden it's on every show. NBA is going to get a lot of money, and NFL is just waiting to see who's going to give them $5 billion for Sunday ticket. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. So we have kind of a lot of stuff going on in WWE right now, and I want to talk to you a little bit about kind of the main singles championship pictures here, Rod. So I'm gonna ask you a few questions here about the current storylines. Do you buy it? Do you not buy it? And then I'm going to give you a couple alternate people and see if you would like those better to kind of focus on. So let's go to SmackDown right now, where Liv Morgan is your SmackDown Women's Champion after beating Ronda Rousey. Right now, it's kind of a Liv Morgan Natalya little mini feud going on. Are you buying that at all? Do you care? What are your thoughts on Liv and Natalya?
It's complicated for me because we all know that I love my namesake Liv Morgan, my aunt, my cousin, my third cousin, my great aunt, whatever. We've called her many different things on this podcast. All about the Liv Morgan of it all. But I'm a little nervous that all we have is Ronda Rousey is going to come out injured and be terrible on the microphone and still sort of pat you on the back and also kind of yell at Natalya, I guess. And Liv Morgan's sort of involved in that. And then Natalya is basically just going to do the same thing she always does. And I'm worried that that's what we have. And what we have a championship contenders match, I believe, is Liv's. It's going to be the first match we've seen her in, Jimmy, since she won the belt, correct? This Friday at SmackDown. That's the first match we're going to see her in?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
And so what I wonder here is, are we being set up for a Nikki ASH situation where Liv Morgan loses this match to Natalya, and then Natalya gets a match at SummerSlam, and then Liv Morgan's involved in a couple of other random matches leading up to that SummerSlam where she loses those two but doesn't lose the belt, and then Natalya takes that belt off of her only then to relinquish it to my queen when she comes back. Because as much as I love Liv Morgan, Jimmy, this is why it's complicated. It's a barren wasteland right now for the SmackDown / Universal Championship on the women's side. It's just a barren wasteland.
So I don't know what's worse, having Natalya beat Liv Morgan in the championship contenders match and then beat her again for the title, or having Natalya lose to Liv in the championship contenders match and then still getting a championship opportunity. How are we speaking? This is ridiculous verbiage we're using right now, but it's WWE.
I know what you mean. That's probably exactly what's going to happen. Is that's what's going to make it even worse, Jim, is she's going to lose this contenders match and then still get a match at SummerSlam.
Okay, so you don't really you're really not buying the Natalia thing. Ronda Rousey, you've kind of seen that, and you've kind of seen where that's going. I'm going to give you a couple others. So Charlotte Flair, she comes back. You're going to be glued to the television, I'm assuming, waiting for your queen to take her crown back. Correct?
Oh, when Charlotte's song hit, Jimmy, you know I love when songs hit, right? Like when the unexpected song hits, that
Yep.
pop that wrestling fans get. One of my favorite. One of the reasons I continue to do this week after week. And so when Charlotte's music pops for the first time after not knowing it for a long time, like I hope if you hear about it, don't tip me off, Jimmy, because that's the next pop that I look forward to is when my queen's music pops and Charlotte comes out in the robe or comes running out just to beat someone's ass or whatever it is. Anything that the queen wants to do and her music wants to pop, anytime that happens, I'm going. And I believe she should come back and just do what they did with Becky Lynch. Come back, boom, bam, put a belt back on her quickly, make her seem dominant because the women's side needs the help.
It really does right now because the next two people I'm going to talk to you about that could be in a feud with Liv Morgan are people they have really not done very well with since bringing them back or up. Let's go right to it. Lacey Evans, who is the number one babyface heel in the company right now, that they just don't know what to do with. Lacey comes back with this great story, amazing. She's good. Then a couple weeks ago, she's kind of bad, but then she comes back to good. Fort Worth did not like Lacey Evans.
They certainly did not. And I must admit, doing all that Lacey Evans build up to then just have her be somebody else who's going to yell at the fans, Jimmy, which you bring up all the time. That's what WWE superstars do all the time.
That's what a bad person. That's what a heel does. It's the fans' fault, Rod. It's all about the fans.
Yeah, and so I was just really disappointed in that. But I gotta say, Jim, because we all know I have the love for the heels on this podcast, I kind of liked Lacey Evans doing that more than I liked her being all-American hero. I'm a former veteran, love me, right? I just felt like I saw it in her eyes more when she was yelling at the crowd than I ever bought her being fully behind being a babyface, right? Like Bianca Belair seems comfortable to me being the babyface. She's fine smiling. She's fine with all that corny stuff. It seems okay to her, but I never really bought it, and I liked her turning a little bit.
So I think if we get Liv through Natalia, a nice couple week feud would be with Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans goes heel. Liv is your babyface. Liv can beat Lacey Evans.
Yeah.
It's not going to hurt Lacey. Just as a bridge feud to whatever's going to happen at SummerSlam, whether it's a rematch with Ronda Rousey or a mystery opponent returning Charlotte Flair.
I like bridge feud. That's cool. Is that did you just create that, or is that a thing? Bridge feud is nice, Jimmy. I like that a lot.
I'm sure I must have heard that somewhere, but I can't think of it. We'll just say I created it. Why not?
We should say. Come on, Jimmy. Give yourself some credit here. You're exactly bridge feud. TM Jimmy Jamriska. Yeah, we know podcast. Morgan, you know podcast network. Hit us up if you disagree.
And then finally, what about Raquel Rodriguez? Do you care?
I do actually, right? Like she seems to me, let's shout out all the way back to the beginnings of me on this podcast and talking about one Baron Corbin at the time, right? I mean it from this standpoint. I understand, yes, she's tall, she's athletic, she's strong, she seems to be attractive enough, she seems to have a tad bit of charisma, so that's exactly what you want out of someone who's going to be a professional wrestler. So I'm fine with all of that, but you have to give me something, and as you state all the time, they have absolutely no idea how to tell a long-term story, and that's something that I think Raquel Rodriguez clearly needs. We need a long arc for her to be on that gets us somewhere, and that will ultimately make her important, and a whole bunch of jerking around, start and stops, which you and I know they will do, is ultimately not going to help anybody.
Yeah, it seems like their mid-card long-term storytelling really isn't good at all in the women's division. You're either the top four or you're going for the 24/7 title, and that's not really something that we want to see. It's almost like they probably should have done a women's intercontinental championship instead of the women's tag team championships, which, by the way, Rod, are still vacant.
Yeah, that's true. You know, I one time on this podcast called for a second women's tag team belt, which was clearly one of my dumber calls. You're right, the Intercontinental Championship, or even the U.S. title for the women, right? Just do it that way if you wanted to. Just a second title for the women would probably be important, because you could have an Aaliyah wrestle a few more times and
Sure.
be that, right? You could put it on Alexa Bliss, which would instantly make it a bit more of a big deal because she's a former, 3-time WWE
Yep.
Women's Champ at that point,
Yep.
right? So it makes it seem more important if you put it on her first. So, I like that idea, actually. I think that would give some juice to the women's division because I think that secondary belt maybe would give them a few more avenues to try to tell stories. I mean, I guess the stories would probably still be bad, but at least they'd have a few avenues to try other stories.
And it's also elevating people. I really like to see those belts try to elevate people, and we haven't really done that in a while. You go through that belt, then you go to the next level there. So let's go over to Raw. Let's talk about the Raw Women's Champion, Bianca Belair, right now. And Bianca and Becky are kind of heading straight towards each other at SummerSlam. It's going to happen one way or another. We all know that's going to happen. Becky finally got a win against Asuka this past week, which is good for her. Are you excited about Bianca and Becky at SummerSlam?
Yes, in a short word, yes. But I want to start here before I get into Becky and Bianca. Raw is a better show right now. We used to talk about how SmackDown was the absolute more must-see watch, 2 hours. There was better things happening on SmackDown. Raw is the better watch right now. You're absolutely right when you say people are wrestling on both shows and the lines are not as clear as they used to be. But Raw is just a better watch. Sure, it's 3 hours and you got to take the filler out of there. But I enjoy a few more of the storylines that Raw is portraying for me right now than I do otherwise. And the Becky Lynch of it all is great right now. I was lukewarm on Becky Lynch, as we have discussed many times, because I was away for a lot of the Man era, and you have to always check me and remind me how big of a deal she was during that time. Correct, Jim?
Correct. Yes. Unbelievable. Number one wrestler in the company. I don't think it really wasn't that close. People will say, oh, it was Lesnar and Reigns. It really wasn't. It was Becky Lynch.
And so I have to give that respect to her without having any personal stake in that game. But seeing the character that she's playing right now, I love it. And I can't help but think to myself, she's got a great sounding board every night when she goes home to talk to somebody about how to play a character a bit like this, Jimmy, right? I mean, is this not the female Seth Rollins right now?
It's pretty cool when you can, have that your significant other in the same business and at the same level. It would be different if they were at different levels in the company.
Kind of like Charlotte and her husband, correct? Like he's kind of a big deal in another company, but he was never as big of a deal in WWE as she's going to be.
Yeah, he's really still not that big of a deal in the other company either. But that's a very good call there. So you're hot on Becky and Bianca now.
I really am. The whole Becky's losing her mind, right? And like when she sits down and does commentary, there's a lot of people when they sit down and do commentary, I'm like, oh no. But when Becky Lynch sits down, I'm like, okay, she's going to add something. When Kevin Owens sits down, he's going to add something. And when Becky Lynch comes on my screen right now, I'm excited by what's probably going to entertain me for the next couple of minutes.
Would your girl Alexa Bliss also give you that good entertainment if she and Bianca were feuding now? For me personally, Alexa still hasn't found what her character is now.
No, I don't know why she's still carrying Lily, right? But I'm definitely in on Alexa Bliss because I love the way
MasterCard commercial, or the WWE card commercial.
Yeah, that's exactly why. Yeah, you're probably right. It really is just that simple.
Probably is.
But she wrestles so well in ring. I just like a lot of what she brings because she's different than a lot of the other women, right? She doesn't bring like Rhea Ripley and Charlotte and Bianca. What they try to do, right, is a lot different than what, say, Becky Lynch and a few of the others try to do. Shayna Baszler, you know what I mean? But I just like what Alexa does because she's kind of a technician at times in the ring because she has to be with her size. And so if we, like you said, hone in more of what Alexa Bliss is about and what she actually cares about and who she kind of wants to align herself with and who she actually isn't aligned with anymore, I think that'll work out really, really well. You know what almost might work with Alexa Bliss is kind of like a Sami Zayn-esque gimmick, right? Where she's kind of the women's locker room leader on Monday night, and she just kind of has a way of like weaseling her way in and out, talking to people, and just kind of being weird, but coming down and giving good matches. I think she could rest somewhere there, Jimmy. What do you think about that? So I like the Alexa Bliss thing you throw out there.
No, I like Alexa. I think even when she was doing all that crazy stuff, she did a great job. I just didn't think that
she could sell, right? She could sell. She knows how to commit.
Yeah. Speaking of committing, we have Asuka, who is one of the most committed wrestlers in the WWE. Her and Bianca have always worked well together. I just don't know if there's that fire in that feud right now. If that would be something different.
No, I like Asuka a little more in the role of like just kind of chaos, and you never really know what she's gonna do. I like her, and this is going to seem like I'm appropriating cultures here, but I like her kind of in the Shinsuke role, right? Where you can just kind of heat her up anytime you want, and anytime she shows up, you know it's a big deal because of her great resume, right? I don't like her locked into a lot of long-term story, unlike a feud like this, I guess is what I mean, because I talked about it last week. No shouts here, Asuka, but I don't need you on the mic an awful lot. And so when she's involved in a story like this that they're really trying to play out over a couple of weeks, there's too many situations where Asuka's got to try to say something, and it's like all she can ever really say is nobody's ready for Asuka. And it's like I don't need you to say that every week.
And again, if she's not very good in English, I don't know, get her a manager.
Yeah, there you go.
Ooh,
that would be interesting. Heal her up a little bit maybe by giving her LA Knight. That's interesting, Jimmy. This is exactly why you're better at this than I am.
Well, we'll see about that. Really, for Bianca, we got Sonya Deville and Shayna Baszler, a couple other people that I really don't see.
I care about Sonya Deville way more than I do Shayna Baszler.
Yeah,
Jimmy.
yeah. I think that they've written Deville a lot better because Baszler only works if she's a killer, and she really hasn't been a killer.
I also listen. This is going to be this is terrible, but you know what? We're about hot takes every once in a while. All right, let's glam up Shayna Baszler maybe just a little bit so she doesn't look like a trailer park person rolling down to the ring every day with just stringy hair and like the most random outfit thrown together. I mean, let's try to at least act like we're putting on a performance for people here, Jim. My goodness.
Well, she's a fighter, and I kind of see. I'm on the opposite end of this with you. I actually kind of like the look because she is different than everyone else, and she does come down. But again, it's if you're doing this gimmick, she's got to be a killer, and she's not a killer right now, and that doesn't
Charlotte's
work.
ready to fight Jim, and she doesn't look like that when she comes to the ring.
Well, but that's her gimmick. That's who she is.
Bianca's ready to fight. She doesn't look like that when she comes to the ring.
I know, and it's different. It's okay to be different.
Yeah, I get you. I get you what you're saying. I get what you're saying, and it's a terrible thing that I said, and it's completely misogynistic. I try not to be that way, but
no, because seeing her having her feuds when she was NXT champion, it made more sense. So I think and I'm putting words in your mouth here, but you're just saying
know me pretty well. You're somebody that can do that rather well, I would say.
It just doesn't fit for you. The look and the look coupled with the in-ring performance does not mesh with you. And you can't understand why that something's got to change for you.
You're absolutely right. If I was scared every time she came down to the ring, right, the way that the announcers are trying to sell me, if I was scared every time she came down to the ring that, oh, damn, Shayna Baszler's here, business is about to pick up, to quote the old JR, then I think you're right, but I just don't see her that way. And so then I'm just like, okay, here we go. Here's boring-ass Shayna Baszler, who I don't like her looking. You know what I mean? And so then it just all feeds on itself.
Think about if they booked Brock Lesnar right now, like they're booking Shayna Baszler, you would be saying the exact same thing about his ponytail thingy. Yeah. It's like, why are you coming down with that? Whatever you got on your head, shave that off. Be me, be different. And it hasn't worked.
That's a good point
with her.
Well, then you're right. Then they need to play the Shayna Baszler of it up then, because we've talked about the women's universe just needs something right now.
Yes. Someone like with Asuka, where you mentioned you can bring her in, heat her up whenever you need to. Your United States champion, Bobby Lashley, right now is on fire.
He sure is.
He is going to have a feud with Theory coming up for SummerSlam. Are you excited about this feud with Theory and Lashley?
I am, from the standpoint of Bob seems to be garnering serious heat, right? Like, you're a little bit better at this than me, but a couple of times in the ring recently, Bob himself seems to be a tad bit surprised at the reaction he's getting in the crowd and how many times the Bobby chants will go off and the cheers and all of the above, right? So he's definitely heated up right now. I think he's heated up because, believe it or not, Jim, I'm going to give WWE creative credit right here. I think he's heated up right now because they know they can drop the U.S. belt off him at any time and then have him fight Reigns if they need to, or McIntyre, or Rollins, or any of the above. So I think they want to make sure to keep him like in a cauldron, like Bugs Bunny back in the day. Jim used to have the guy, and he'd always want to just keep him there and just keep adding wood to the fire. That's what we're doing with Bob Lashley right now. We got him in the cauldron, and we're cooking him. We don't know who we're feeding the Bob Lashley stew to yet, but we want to make sure that it's the right temperature when we're ready to serve it. That's a terrible analogy, but I think it works.
I'm not speechless very often. Okay, so you're excited about the Lashley and Theory feud.
I am just because I'm excited about the Bob Lashley of it, and I also, I guess, to quote what I said about Raquel Rodriguez, Theory, I get it. He's young, he's charismatic, he's got the body, he's got the, you know what I mean? We're moving somewhere with him. You gave him the Money in the Bank briefcase. Okay, cool. I need more of a character out of him than I just take pictures with my phone, but so fine, I guess. But I like the fact that he's with Bob Lashley because I'm interested to see what this then means for Bob Lashley, if that makes any sense.
Well, it could mean there's a couple other people he could feud with. Now, if you put him in with The Miz for United States Championship match, which we've seen before, I know. We've seen the world title. We've seen all that.
I say boo to that.
The Miz is someone.
I say boo to that,
be.
Jimmy.
All right,
I've
good.
switched.
I'm
switched
glad.
now, and you know why I've switched? The Miz can't wrestle anymore. He can't wrestle. His matches are just bad. He can't sell moves anymore. He seems to be really half-assing a lot of stuff. Like, Miz, I get that you're kind of the Hollywood guy who has to do a lot of performances for him elsewhere, but you got to still be able to turn it up in the ring a couple of times, man. And he's really bad anymore in these matches.
What about Miz's new friend? I guess Ciampa.
Ciampa's tough for me because I kind of like it, right? Bald, beard, cut up. You know what I mean? Like, I
Very
get dangerous. I get dangerous from Ciampa, right? The way you were talking about with Shayna Baszler. I get that from Ciampa.
Not booked well.
Exactly. Where are we going? He's the Miz's
booked
guy?
Perfectly. Yep.
Why is he the Miz's guy, right? Like, it made sense to me when John Morrison and the Miz hung out together, but why is the Miz hanging out with Ciampa? And why would Ciampa want to do the Miz's bidding?
Yeah, I don't get it either. I'm kind of good on
or
that.
Tommaso? Or Ochampa, what I used to call him? Ochampa. I thought his name was Ochampa.
Thomas Ochampa from Ireland. Yes. And I think he's going to get a tag team match at SummerSlam though with against Logan Paul. So
who's Logan Paul's partner going to be then, Jimmy?
I knew you were going to ask that and I just lost it. I can't think of who his partner's going to be. Who is
AJ Styles?
Oh, it could be. Yeah. Actually, that makes a lot of sense because thank you. AJ and Ochampa can carry the match wrestling wise, and then Logan Paul can come in and do what he needs to do to the Miz and end that. So yeah, I think that'll be.
Yeah, because we've seen AJ and the Miz. You know, what I mean, we've seen them chop it up on Miz TVs and trade blows back and forth, right?
Correct, and I think that's where we'll be heading there.
I also just want good things for AJ Styles. I've made that clear in a lot of.
Well, I put him in an upper tier feud that I want to talk about in a little bit because yes, AJ needs some love. So let's go to the Intercontinental Championship here because we have Gunther and Nakamura, which I'm not even going to ask you on this one. I think it's fantastic. Give me some Nakamura, give me some Gunther, but I will tell you what will happen. Corbin's going to do something to mess up with Nakamura, and it's not going to be a good match.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and that's why he was out there. He was certainly doing his McAfee thing when he was out there, but I think that's the reason he was out there during that match. So I think you're absolutely right about that. But no, listen, when Shinsuke's music hit, that place lit on fire, and that's why Shinsuke's who he is, right? He's got one of the best entrances. He's got cred. He's the king of strong style. His strikes still look good, when he does the move on the ropes, and Michael Cole can say, "Vintage Nakamura," you know what I mean? Like that's I'm
vintage
goosebumps.
Shin. Oh,
yeah. Yeah, that's true. Notice I haven't said it, Jimmy, because you scolded me pretty good one time. So notice I haven't said
my
that.
shin is your frickin'. So there we go.
Absolutely. I like that. That's good. But no, I'm all for it. But I got to ask you this question, Jimmy. What are we doing to Ludwig at this point with what Gunther did to him at the end of that match and then the fact that he just got completely worked by Shinsuke? Like, what are we doing with Ludwig?
Why? What is the lack of patience? The lack of storytelling. What is it that everyone has to be broken up right away? Oh, it's not getting over. What are you talking about? I think it's actually doing pretty good.
Yeah, people love that entrance. They really did. Even though people will boo Gunther and stuff, people loved it when that dude would stand because think about it. They never really did what's during his intros, right?
No. So I don't. A couple other people I think that would be okay. Ricochet. I still want them to have a good 20-minute match. It's never going to happen.
Jimmy,
I know.
Let it go.
I know.
Let it go.
Okay. Finn Balor.
Judgment Day fighting on that Saturday night thing that you told me about, by the way, which, oh my goodness, that's a rough watch trying to watch that program that is available on Peacock, but it seems to be only available 2 weeks after it airs. So my question to you still stands, Jim. Where does it air officially the first time?
I have no. I think it's on Peak. I don't know. But something we also have to hit on. Rhea Ripley still out. She's done some Instagrams here recently where she's got some kind of device on her chest.
Well, she's the biggest star in Judgment Day, so they need her back.
So hopefully she's doing okay. I mean, was it a concussion? Was it some heart stuff? I have no idea what it was, but hopefully she gets back. But I think they're just holding off until she's ready because we haven't seen the Archer or at all really in a while.
If you're telling me Finn Balor's going to be the demon, Jimmy, then I'll buy it. But if you're telling me Finn Balor's going to be essentially the guy who basically lets Damian Priest talk for him, then I'm out.
A couple more people here for Gunther. What about Veer?
Okay. You could convince me a little bit of Veer. I think there's potential in Veer. I really do. I've seen his Twitter feed. Twitter feed. Hilarious. I like the moves. There's potential in Veer. I really think there is. And you could get Veer turned in a match versus Gunther, right? Like if he gets worked by a guy like Gunther, then maybe he gets some, the fans get on the other side of him, and then he doesn't have to be this angry, crazy Veer anymore, and maybe he can play up some of who he seems to be more of in real life. Because you give me Veer, and I'm gonna say a half thumb up. Does that make any sense? Because I'm for it, but you got to give me a little bit more.
All right, and here's I brought this person down a level because I kind of want to see Gunther. How about Gunther and Kevin Owens?
Ooh, wow. I'm surprised to hear you say that. But we did just see Kevin Owens work a feud with Elias, a.k.a. Ezekiel. So, and that was cool. I mean, we kind of had a thud there at the end because their match didn't get to happen. But you give me Kevin Owens, Jim, and I'm going to say let's get on it. Let's do it. He can work a great microphone. He can work a great match. So I would love to see that. Kevin Owens as well could beat a Gunther, and then that would be a good thing for KO to have the Intercontinental belt, shine him up a little bit, and maybe give him one last run at the big belt, right?
Yes. Speaking of the big belt, we have Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar 8 happening at SummerSlam this year. It will be the last match they have, the last man standing match. How excited are you for this match?
I'm going to surprise you a little bit here and say 42% surprised because of the whole Money in the Bank of it all, right? The fact that they have told us and they've played their hand up so much that someone's going to come down at the end of that match. I now am interested to see what actually is going to happen because that's clearly not what's going to happen. So now I'm at least interested to see what does happen at the end of that match because it can't just be Theory comes down and beats somebody because they've basically just played their hand now for weeks.
I think they do the Miz gimmick, and I said this in our text about a week ago. I think that Reigns wins, Theory comes down, he gets beat, but there's something that happens where it's kind of like, maybe not, and he's going to get the briefcase back, and he'll get the chance to do it again, and then he's going to get beat again.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think he's going to be champion this year. I don't think so.
I would agree with you actually that I don't think we put the belt on Theory, but let's go a little, I love to push you on this and go a little, let's go even further out. Okay. So if Theory's not going to use his Money in the Bank briefcase to take this belt off of Roman Reigns, where in the world could we possibly be heading to the belt coming off of Roman Reigns, Jim?
I think at this point you go all the way till Mania, and if it's Cody Rhodes after winning the Royal Rumble, I think that he is the person to do it. I do not think The Rock should beat Roman Reigns after a 3-year reign for the title.
I think you bring The Rock back and have him lose to Roman Reigns is what you do.
If that's the case, at Mania, then you have him lose to Reigns, and then The Rock actually retires, which is fine. But
then how cool does Cody get to look if he then does beat Reigns after Reigns beats Rock?
That would be pretty cool. But you have to then wait until SummerSlam. You have to wait for a year from now.
That's fine because listen, let's give Cody plenty of time, all right?
Yeah.
Because as I used to love to say, Cody really classed the joint up, right? Cody really classed the joint up. He also would add to Raw, which I say is now the better show. So I love that. But Jim, I wonder how much should we worry about the Drew McIntyre of it all? Because you and I have talked about how they've been really heating him up for months now, right? We don't see Drew McIntyre lose flat on his back in the middle of the ring basically ever in a long time. So, where do you think he factors in here? Or is there a belt split before Roman actually loses the one that you're talking about and he still gets to have his record, right? That's what I think. He'll still get to have his record on a technicality, but maybe he drops one belt.
Does the sword cut the belts in half?
Oh,
even though there are already 2 belts anyway, but it's something like that, something stupid like that.
That's interesting because, I mean, we play the sword up all the time, Jim, so that's not a bad thought by you.
And obviously, you want to send the people home at Clash at the Castle happy, but I don't see him taking the belt. Why would you do it then?
Would you give it to a Sheamus? Could Sheamus take it off of him and just to make the fans mad again like they were the last time Sheamus got the belt?
No,
I think that's the thing that happened, right?
I think they're always mad when Sheamus is involved in it. Believe me. What about the Bray Wyatt promos that actually are Edge promos? What about Edge coming back? And
he's a wild card in all of this for me, Jim. You tell me, you have more experience with the WWE fandom than I do. He's just going to get an instant pop, right? Like the whole Judgment Day of it all and getting booed and yelling at the fans just isn't going to matter, right?
Nope, won't matter at all. He'll be back. He'll be great. They had a chance to do this with Edge a couple years ago when he won the Rumble, and they threw Daniel Bryan in the triple threat, and then Reigns pinned both of them at the same time. So I
told you I was going to smash him and stack him. I remember that right as I was coming back.
I don't see Edge winning, but I think the feud could be pretty cool there. And then finally, Rod, your boy, my boy, everyone's boy, the Bro and RK Bro. What about Riddle somehow, some way, some shape, some form? Getting a championship match. It would have to be against Lesnar, I guess. But what about that?
I want to see a scenario where Riddle and my guy on the dark side, Seth Rollins, lock horns, and whoever comes out on the other side of that feud maybe pushes themselves right up to the brink of maybe taking out Roman or a McIntyre or a Sheamus or a Kevin Owens or an Edge or somebody who gets a hold of one of the belts. I would definitely like to see that. So I think we need to put a belt on Riddle, but let me do this to you. You brought down Kevin Owens. Yeah. What if we put an Intercontinental title on a Riddle? What if Riddle was the first guy to take down Gunther?
I think that could happen as well. I think that those would be some great matches, and I think that you could easily bring Riddle down.
Because you talk about Riddle's ultimate fighting background, right? Doesn't that give him enough cred to be able to take down a guy like Gunther?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I think it does for sure. And his status in WWE right now does as well. So I think that is also a really good call. I mean, you've got some really good Gunther matches in there because Gunther's really good.
He is.
Whereas Reigns, you kind of know what's going to happen with the Reigns matches. And even going back to Reigns and Rollins, I think you still need to, like you said, rehab Rollins, continue to rehab him because he's not going to beat Reigns yet.
No. He's definitely not. As much as it pains me to be a Seth Rollins #1 fan, and if there's a Seth Rollins fan club out there, let me know. Give me the application. I'll pay the dues. I'll run for president here soon after I get in the club. But I just, yeah, you're right. He cannot take out Reigns right now. But that to me is still something that, for me anyway, right, as a fan of WWE right now and liking the whole inner workings of it all, what looms largest for me at all times, almost anything that I watch on any program, I think to myself, how does this factor into Roman Reigns possibly losing again someday? Because the bloodline cannot just continue to have all the titles for another year. I mean, I guess they could, but ideally you'd like to see somebody get heated up to the point where it makes sense enough for them to then take one of those belts. And so I just always think to myself, does this move us closer to this person being over enough for the old man to give the belt to somebody else? But honestly, Vince, Jimmy, excuse me. Let me touch on one last thing. If more and more heat gets dialed up on Vince and other creative starts to come to the forefront, then you would probably change your tune to me on a few of the things that you've predicted on this very podcast, no?
Depends who it is.
So you think there's still a world that exists where Vince can get somebody who will basically still do Vince things? You don't think that in a power vacuum somebody would be able to take over that would then make these better decisions that you and I sometimes talk about?
No. It just kind of depends who's in charge. Triple H is in charge? Maybe. Paul Heyman in charge? If actually in charge? Maybe. Bruce Pritchard's in charge? Probably the same thing. Vince is just going to text him,
right.
But we'll see.
I think that's something to keep our eyes on as we watch all of these great storylines and within the four rings, the squared circle. I think that's just something else to keep our eyes on because it may play in if it starts to go bad for Vince.
Yeah, and especially when he's cooking his wrestlers in the middle of the ring, and we're eating the stew out of the wrestler. There may be some more things, but we'll talk more about that on our next episode.
Listen, remember, Jimmy, I don't have to work on Mondays, right? So maybe there's a few Sundays where I get on these podcasts with you and I've had a few libations, right? And so maybe that led to my Wile E. Coyote, Bugs Bunny, Looney Tunes, cauldron cooking analogy.
It is a big week in the Morgan universe. This week we've obviously got our show here at Yeah We Know Pod. Hit us up on Twitter, yeahweknowpod@gmail.com. We also have this week coming up a Let Me Ask You This with somebody, I believe, correct?
That is very true. We are excited that one of our oldest and dearest friends on the podcast network, and actually you and I is one of our oldest and dearest friends since elementary school, Mr. Brett Westcons, is releasing his Late Bloomer album, and we have an exclusive interview with the man himself dropping on the very day his album drops, July the 13th, which I believe that's Wednesday, right, Jimmy?
Sure. Yeah, let's go with, yes, it is Wednesday. And then we also have Evan Altman coming on pretty soon, I believe, right?
I think you have to talk about that because, again, Jimmy, this is not a bit. I do not watch baseball or follow baseball, so I will not be involved in that. Either you or Chris will be driving that interview, and I think maybe you guys should have a death match to figure out who actually gets to drive that interview. What do you think of that?
I think Chris can drive the interview as long as they mention that you might want to close your ears. My boy Ian Happ is an all-star. Yes. They're going to trade him tomorrow. So we're going to have that. And then we are going to have eventually here coming up the super secret 100th episode of the Morgan flagship podcast.
My tease last time was we had the outline and the idea for the podcast, and we now have the date that the podcast will be recorded, scheduled. So that's the only hint I'm giving here. We now have the outline and the date for the podcast to be recorded. So that means before too long, episode 100 will be in your ears.
You've been listening to the Yeah We Know podcast, part of the Morgan podcasting network. You're in the ring with Jimmy and Rod.
I'm just going to bring up something here again that I believe I want to make sure to be clear on and stay in the forefront of because it was mentioned a couple of times in this podcast, and quite frankly, I wasn't happy about it. It is Seth freaking Rollins, Freakin, and G if you want to be proper, or just N if you want to be cool. But it is never Seth frickin' Rollins, Friking, I think. I don't know. Don't check me on the spelling, but it is definitely not frickin'. It's always freaking. I love you, Seth.